Hi there, Rick here. I'm just kind of like watching some short YouTube videos on my MSN map this morning. Um, okay, the title here is called just give me a sec. Why locals say Bitcoin, okay, is changing El Salvador for the better, okay? So these two tourists are going around El Salvador and they're using their phones, okay, to do transactions in Bitcoin, okay? Um, some merchants are accepting it, some others are not, okay? But the transaction is so easy, okay? If the person on the other side, okay, now I'm talking about the merchant, okay, if they have a smartphone, okay, they can conduct a Bitcoin transaction to pay for, the goods, right? And it's really quite interesting, okay, because it only takes like what is it? Maybe about 20 seconds to do the transaction, okay? And what is it? El Salvador was having kind of like a promo, okay? If you got, a Bitcoin wallet, okay, they would give you, I think, about um 50 or $60 worth of Bitcoin, okay? And that was not bad actually. But the problem was I heard that people were abusing it. They were selling their ID number, okay? Because they knew that, they weren't going to use Bitcoin, okay? So they're selling their ID number for, maybe 10 or 10 or 20 $10 or $20 worth of Bitcoin, and then they would you know um collect some of that money, right? But I heard that they could never open up a wallet, like a Bitcoin wallet again in El Salvador, because they already used their ID number, right? So I think more and more of this is going to be used around the world, right? And well, if Bitcoin continues to go up in value, more and more people are going to collect it, right? But I was just going to say that, it's kind of interesting how Bitcoin evolved, right? Because I remember a time when, yeah, it was only worth like $20. Now I think it's worth around, $100,000. So, if you have what, um, if you bought 3 Bitcoin, you have something like $300,000 worth of, Bitcoin in your wallet, and you're walking around, um, maybe another country, right, as a tourist. It's fairly safe, okay, because somebody steals your wallet, right? Or sorry, if somebody steals your wallet with money in it, the money's gone, right? But if they steal your phone, they still have to unlock your phone and, try to find out your password for Bitcoin, right? To access your Bitcoin in your wallet, right? So, I would say that Bitcoin is a lot safer, right? Um, it's a lot safer to carry around and use as money, okay, is what I was trying to say. But, um, I would say, watch this video because it's quite interesting, okay? Because now you're seeing, cryptocurrency being used in the markets, right? In foreign countries, right? Um, and as more as more people accept it as money, um, the price will only go up. Okay. There was some talk on the internet. Bitcoin was, sorry, cryptocurrency was going to come crashing down, right? But I find that very hard to believe just because if a lot of people are using it for money, merchants are accepting it, right? Um, I could see it, just being around for a very long time. Maybe some other cryptocurrencies will go crashing down, but I would say that Bitcoin is um, just very, very interesting how it evolved through the years. Because I think they could probably do that with gold too. Okay, people that have gold, okay, maybe it's worth a lot of money, right? A lot more money than today. They can cash in at the bank and then have some sort of wallet, okay, where they can pay the merchants, okay, in gold. Okay, they just use their smartphone and they deduct $5 or $10. You have to remember too, um, it's a lot easier to do in today's age just because of smartphones. Like, look at how many people have smartphones these days. There is a lot. Okay, and what's amazing too is, okay, I see people, um, either trading in their old, smartphone for a more updated one, like a iPhone 17, right? iPhone 17 costs $1,700. That's quite a bit of money, okay? And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with their old phone. They just want an updated one. So you can see what people are paying, was it, buying with their disposable income these days, right? They want the latest cell phone. I heard that even some people were uh I heard that some people were changing their cell phone every 3 4 months. Okay, I read it in a magazine, and yeah, I believe it. Because there's just some people who have they have a lot of disposable income, and I would say that a lot of people really love their cell phone these days, that when the new one comes out, okay, whatever brand they have, right, they go with the newer brand. They're saving up money. They're working hard to um buy the latest cell phone, that the brand that they're usually using, right? Because I remember when cell phones were, doesn't even seem that long ago, $1,000, right? Now look at it, $1,700, and people are still buying it. Um, I can see why. Okay, there was a huge crime ring going around London and Britain stealing iPhones, right? They found 1,000 1,000 iPhones in boxes. Okay, in a box. Okay, it doesn't take much space to store 1,000 iPhones, right? And it was near Heathrow Airport in London. Okay, and they arrested the people that were stealing it, right? But you could see how people were stealing it. They were on bikes. um they would just snatch the cell phone out of the person's hand and just ride away with it, or they would snatch it out of their hand and run away with it. Okay, you have to remember, they're running away with sometimes what, an item worth about what, what the person paid for, about maybe, I just take a guess, okay, between 1,000 to $1,500. Yeah, that much money. So it is very tempting for thieves to just snatch something out of a person's hand for like $1,500 and start running away with it. Okay, they still have to pay money to get these phones unlocked, unless they know how to unlock them themselves. Okay, but it's a lot more common than you think. People stealing cell phones because they're worth so much money. Easily, I would say that a lot of people has a cell phone worth over $1,000. Okay, so they're walking with $1,000 in their hand. Okay, and yeah, there's thieves out there that are literally targeting people with with cell phones. Sometimes when I go for a walk in the cemetery that's in my neighborhood, I leave my wallet and even my cell phone, okay, in my vehicle, okay. Um, just because there's not that many people in the cemetery, right? Um, if somebody held me up, okay, they would maybe only get maybe about $3 and change. That's it, right? Um, but it's I'll probably I've watched about half the video. Finish watching the rest of the video of it. But that's the sign right there. Okay, aceptamos Bitcoin. Okay, that's in Spanish. Okay, but the sign just says, yeah, we accept Bitcoin. Okay, as a form of payment. Okay, and with your cell phone these days, yeah. I was just gonna say it hasn't been easier to use your cell phone to make payments.